Sometimes, the stories of human lives defy all logic. Some are tales of miraculous survival against impossible odds. Others are stories of absurd, senseless death, happening in the most mundane of places. Today, you'll hear both. On January 26, 1972, Jet Flight 367, a DC-9 passenger jet, was cruising at 33,000 feet over the snowy mountains of Czechoslovakia. Suddenly, a deafening explosion ripped through the fuselage. A bomb, hidden inside a suitcase in the luggage compartment, tore the plane into 3 pieces. 27 passengers and crew members were violently thrown from the disintegrating aircraft into the freezing, thin air. There was no hope. No one could survive a fall from that height. No one, except for one woman. Her name was Vesna Vulović, a 22-year-old flight attendant. She wasn't even supposed to be on that flight. She had been mixed up with another flight attendant also named Vesna. But there she was. When the bomb went off, the explosive decompression was instantaneous. Vesna found herself pinned to the rear of the fuselage by a heavy food service cart. This bizarre twist of fate would be the first in a chain of improbable events that saved her life. While other bodies were ejected into the sky, Vesna was trapped inside the plane's tail section as it began its terrifying 10-kilometer plunge to the earth. The tail section spiraled downwards, reaching speeds of over 240 kilometers per hour. It was a metal coffin hurtling towards a frozen landscape. But as it fell, it sliced through the thick branches of pine trees, which slowed its descent just enough. It finally slammed into a steep, snow-covered mountainside. The deep snow acted like a giant cushion, absorbing the catastrophic force of the impact. The tail section, which had been her prison, now became a protective cocoon, shielding her from the final, fatal blow. Vesna's body was shattered. She had a fractured skull, 3 crushed vertebrae that left her temporarily paralyzed from the waist down, a broken pelvis, and 2 broken legs. She was in a deep coma. But here is another strange detail that contributed to her survival. Vesna had a history of unusually low blood pressure. When the cabin depressurized, instead of suffering a fatal heart rupture like many others, her low blood pressure caused her to pass out almost immediately. This state of unconsciousness, this coma, slowed her body's metabolic functions down to a crawl, paradoxically protecting her brain and vital organs from the lack of oxygen and the extreme trauma. She was discovered in the mangled wreckage by a local woodsman named Bruno Honk. He heard her moans amidst the eerie silence of the crash site. By yet another incredible coincidence, Bruno had been a medic during World War II. He knew exactly what not to do. He didn't move her, recognizing the severity of her injuries, and instead kept her stable until rescue teams arrived. Vesna spent months in the hospital. She had to relearn how to walk. When she finally woke from her coma, she had amnesia of the entire event. She remembered boarding the plane, greeting passengers, and then, nothing. The next thing she remembered was waking up in the hospital and seeing her parents by her bedside. Against all odds, Vesna Vulović became the sole survivor of Jet Flight 367. Her story is so unbelievable that it earned her a place in the Guinness Book of World Records for the highest fall survived without a parachute, a fall of over 10,000 meters. The statistical probability of her survival has been calculated at 1 in a billion. She didn't just cheat death, she defied the very laws of physics and biology. Her story became a symbol of hope in Yugoslavia, a national hero who stared into the abyss and somehow came back. Now, if Vesna's story is one of the most incredible tales of survival ever told, then what follows is one of the most bizarre and absurd deaths imaginable. And it happened not in the sky, but in a place thousands of people visited every single day without a clue. We're going to Council Bluffs, Iowa. The year is 2009. A 25-year-old man named Ely Murillo-Moncada worked at the local no-frills supermarket. One day, he went missing. His parents reported that he had been acting erratically, perhaps due to medication he was taking. He ran out of his house during a snowstorm and was never seen again. For 10 long years, his family waited. Police investigated, but every lead went cold. It was as if Larry had vanished from the face of the earth. Fast forward a decade to January 2019. The no-frills supermarket where Larry used to work had gone out of business. Workers were brought in to dismantle the store, removing shelves, fixtures, and large commercial coolers. As they were working to remove one of the massive freezer units, they made a gruesome discovery. Wedged in a narrow, 18-inch gap between the back of the freezer and the wall, was a human body. Through DNA testing and the clothes found on the remains, the body was identified. It was Ely Murillo-Moncada. After 10 years, the mystery was solved, but the truth was more disturbing than anyone could have imagined. Investigators pieced together what they believe happened. The store had an unofficial break spot for employees on top of the coolers, a place to get away from the main floor. They theorized that Larry, for reasons unknown, climbed on top of the freezers that day. Perhaps he was trying to hide, or maybe just rest. He even slipped and fell into the tiny, dark gap behind the unit. The space was so narrow he would have been instantly trapped, unable to move or climb out. His cries for help would have been completely drowned out by the constant, loud hum of the freezer compressors and fans. No one could have heard him. For a decade, as shoppers pushed their carts down the aisles, picking out frozen pizzas and ice cream, Larry's body lay just a meter away, hidden behind the wall of freezers. Thousands of people passed by, completely unaware of the silent tomb just on the other side. It's not a horror movie plot. It's not an urban legend. It is the real, tragic story of a young man who died in the most unimaginable way, lost and alone, in a busy public place, hidden in plain sight. His family finally had an answer, but it was a horrifying one. Ely Murillo-Moncada, the man who died behind the freezer. His stories: 1. A 1 in a billion miracle of survival from 10 kilometers up in the sky. The other, an absurd, lonely death in a gap just 18 inches wide. Both are stark reminders of how fragile our lives are, and how strange and unpredictable the line between life and death can be. One woman fell from the sky and lived. One man fell behind a freezer and vanished. Reality is often far stranger than fiction. Thank you for watching. If you found these stories as fascinating as I did, please consider liking the video and subscribing for more explorations into the unexplained and the extraordinary. Stay curious.